America is at war. Can you believe America is at war? You're on the road. Thank you for joining us on the road for reviews, opinions, and discussions. I'm Bruce.
I'm Rahsaan. And again, thank you for joining us. And another thing, we want to hear from you. So we're about to jump into it, but feel free to hit us up. We have all of our links to our social media and our website right below, somewhere down there. So we're on Instagram and Twitter at The Road Podcast, and we're on the web at joinusontheroad.com. So again, feel free to hit us up, give us your opinions, your reviews on the subjects that we're talking about. So let's jump into it.
Again, we opened up by talking about the fact that could America be at war again? I mean, we're not talking about a war with Russia. We're not talking about a war with North Korea. Yeah. But we're talking about could America be in the midst of another civil war? Yeah. And I got to tell you, from what I've been seeing and listening to on the media, I tell you, it seems to me as if America is divided. America is divided the way it was back during the days of the Civil War. Absolutely. I think in 1861, when you had two opposing parties having different views and opinions about slavery. And what they did was let's face the facts. They couldn't resolve it. They couldn't come to any kind of conclusion or any kind of amicable way of resolving this thing.
You got all out war.
And next thing you know, it escalated to the point that there was war. And it seems to me that right now in America, we are once again entrenched in a civil war. But this is a political war.
Instead of the North versus the South, you got
Democrats
and Republicans
are at war.
And it's getting kind of heated right now. I mean, you can't go on you can't go on your social media, you can't go on the internet, you can't watch TV. You can barely walk down the street without being bombarded by some sort of issue or conflict that's going on with this whole bipartisan political system that we have going on right now. And it's really getting to the point where, I mean, you hear the term like identity politics, thrown around, and I mean that's really where we're at right now with things. It's to the point where people, I think, identify so deeply with the ideas behind the parties that they're aligned with that it becomes almost, they don't even want to admit that there could be anything that either side could do better, And so now, what does that do?
That's true.
It just widens the rift between the two sides, because there's no coming together anymore, because it's like I'm right and you're wrong. No, I'm right, you're wrong. And then
no one wants to hear from anyone. There's no discussion. There's no sitting down and talking about the differences that they may have. But this is strictly political. This is the bad thing about it. It's all political, and it's not about what's best for America. Let's be honest. This is all about politics. Exactly. This is all about one party wanting to be in reign in America and using whatever they can in order to stir up the pot and get folks all riled up and joining on their side. The sad thing about it is this thing has escalated so much until it's moved to the point that where it's politicians are spewing a whole lot of very dangerous rhetoric. Now, everybody wants to blame everybody else for it. Okay, the Democrats want to say the Republicans started, the Republicans say Democrats, but let's face the facts. I mean, everybody's responsible for the things that they say as individuals. And if you care about America, if you care about the people, if you care about this nation, continue to be one nation, united, then we have to come to the point where we can sit down and we can talk again. People like to say that this is all about civility. I'll fight for civility. Well, how in the world are you going to fight for civility when the very definition of the word civility is contrary to the actions that are being taken? And I got to tell you, man, look, I'm a Democrat, Republican, Independent, I don't really care. The fact of the matter is that we are one nation. And some of the things that I've heard being said, I got to tell you, it sort of takes us back to the time in history of the Civil War when there was a complete divide between the two parties, and it is getting uglier and uglier. And then people standing at the microphone rallying their troops on their political side in order to push back and to allow another political party to not be welcome anywhere they go. They can't go to a restaurant. They can't go to a gas station. They can't go to the mall. This is ridiculous. This is outright ridiculous. And I gotta tell you, as a black man myself, I mean, I know what it's like to not want to not be welcome someplace.
Oh yeah.
Why would America want to go back to that?
Yeah.
Why would any politician in their right mind want to go back to that era once again, where now it's not about blacks, although let's face it, that's the topic to itself.
Yeah,
because that has not been resolved
yet.
That's
a whole other can of worms right there.
Let's get real with this.
Yeah.
So now we're stirring up another pot, and now it's about Democrats and Republicans at war and attacking one another once again. We are a nation divided. I believe the American people, just like I am, just like we are sick and tired of it.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I think that you're starting to see people with that sentiment a lot more nowadays, because especially with the advent of social media and the proliferation of access to information that's out there now, people are starting to kind of realize, like, we really just got the wool pulled over our eyes, and it's been there for a very long time. And I think a lot of people are starting to come to that realization of, the fact that this is all just kind of a big game that's being played, and the American people are the ones who are being played. And I don't think anybody likes feeling that way. And I think it's a hard pill to swallow, and so a lot of people refuse to see it. But those who do, they start realizing that it's time to kind of take a step back and look at this thing from a different point of view, because a lot of what's being spewed out there is just it's not beneficial. A lot of it is a lot of the rhetoric that's being spewed is self-serving to one party or the other, or sometimes just to the individual politician, just trying to advance their own personal goals, and they'll leverage the people, their constituents, and their voters, and the communities that they're charged with serving and making better. They'll leverage those for that power or for that advantage, without a blink of an eye. And I think that's one of the things that people are.
It's sad.
I know a lot of people are starting to become disenfranchised with what's going on in the world, and I can't really blame them. I'm one of them, and I look at it and I see everything that's going on, and it really can be discouraging, to see so many people that are still caught in that and still get swept up into the fervor of these impassioned speeches.
The fervor.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's the fervor. Like when you go to one of these political rallies, and it doesn't matter who's speaking, all these guys are very, very talented speakers, and they know the psychology of how to get a crowd of people going, and how to get them caught up into that emotion. And before you know it, you're chanting and screaming and stuff, and that person who's speaking hasn't even really made any real points or said anything real. There's just a bunch of ideas there. Oh yeah, we gotta do this and we gotta do that, and everybody deserves it, and all that stuff. And then before you know, everybody's chanting and just jumping on that bandwagon. But it can be discouraging from the outside looking in.
It is
seeing that happen, and just like trying to figure out what can happen to possibly change that. I don't know.
Well, the truth of the matter is,
I don't know the answer to that.
Honestly, as long as people aren't willing to sit down and listen to one another and talk and face the facts, I mean, we're not always going to agree. I mean, let's face. I mean, it's supposed to be America. I mean, freedom of speech. But what happened to that freedom of speech, where it comes down to the point where I cannot espouse an idea that's different from become somebody else's without suddenly there becoming a battle.
Yeah.
I'm engaged in a battle now where attitudes begin to change, and next thing you know, if I'm not on the same train that you're on, then suddenly I'm an enemy, and I'm being approached as an enemy. I'm being attacked verbally. I'm being attacked possibly even physically because we don't agree. Now I heard somebody once say that when they take the low road, we take the high road. I gotta be honest with you. You know, I haven't seen a high road yet. In all honesty,
well, the roads keep getting lower and lower. They keep digging lower roads, man.
What's that game? The game that I played as a kid, you played as a kid, and the limbo.
Oh yeah.
You know, and what's the limbo about? How low can you go? Yeah. This is like a game of limbo. How low can you go? When you go low, we go lower. Then you go lower, we go lower. We can go lower than you. And all it is about is trying to espouse a political point of view that you have taken, and maybe in your heart you believe in it, but my God, it's rooted in so much bitterness and so much hatred, and it's getting people all riled up. Now I thank God that all Americans are not getting caught up into this frenzy, but there are those factions of either parties that do get riled up into these type of frenzy, crazy, wild ideas,
absolutely,
which perpetrate violence, verbally or physically, towards somebody else because they are not of the same.
Because they're not of the same mindset as you.
Yeah.
That's the you know. And so now we're getting into the idea of like, so now we self-censoring each other's ideas and thoughts.
Yeah.
You know, I mean that's a really to me that's a really dangerous place to be.
It is.
To where as a nation we're self-censoring our own, you know, thoughts. So now if you think something, you have to be admonished for that. If you think a certain thing, you deserve to lose your job, your source of income, possibly
you don't think
home.
The same way I think.
You deserve to be publicly shamed. You know, and I mean, not only that, but like you said, I mean, it's getting to the point where things are getting violent. I mean, people will approach you on the street, and you know, things happen. You know? People
will accost you on the street. They'll call you names on the street. People will throw things on the street, and the truth of the matter is, I mean, when you begin to excite people at this level, you're actually opening up a Pandora's box.
Absolutely.
To violence. Absolutely. I mean, look, this was happening back in the days, you know, of the civil rights movement. Folks who were totally against it were riling up the people on their side and getting them to go out there to frenzy and begin to attack the folks they didn't like, who happen to be people of another color. Now, politicians are doing the same thing to people not necessarily of another color, but of another political party. Now, look, civility. I mean, I've seen it being said as this is the fight for civility. Let me read you. Now, I know what civility means, but I'm going to read to you the definition of civility, and I want you to hit us up. Rahsaan gave you all information, and tell me if any of this shows any form.
Is this really civil?
Of civility at all.
Are we really being civil to each other?
Now, are the actions matching definition? Now, here's what the word says right here. Right here. Civility. Formal politeness and courtesy in behavior or speech. Have you seen any of that taking place? Have you seen formal politeness? No. I see rudeness. I see people attacking people because they have a different political view. They're on a different end of the political spectrum. I don't see any courtesy. Running people out of a restaurant with their children certainly is not. And I'm going to tell you right now,
not courteous.
This isn't to me about a political, any political. I don't care if you're Democrat, Republican, or if you're independent. You have a right to sit down with your family and enjoy a meal. What is wrong with people in this country? And they're talking about formal politeness and courtesy in behavior. What kind of behavior are we saying? And this is the stuff that they're teaching the children in America. Look, you're trying to tell young children how they should
grow up and be respectful.
Exactly.
And kind words and this, that, and the third. And I mean, clearly, if that's what we're teaching the kids, we're not setting them up for the real world very well, because it's not like that at all. And that's the to me, that's the sad part. And so we do set some unrealistic expectations on how we expect people, our young people, to act in this world. So we're telling them to be nice and be respectful and don't disrespect others and use your words. But then they're seeing the same adults that they're told to look up to as role models and the leaders of the country inciting violence and just generally being
name calling,
nasty and disrespectful to each other. And these are the successful people in our nation. These are the leaders,
successful people and leaders of America,
of our country,
and of all color, not just white, black as well. Black and white. I don't care what color you are. If you're mixed up in this mess, then you're part of the problem. It reminds me. Remember the old expression, "Don't do as I."
Don't do as I say.
I say, don't do as I do. Do as I say.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
See, that's what's happening.
That's
man.
Old school. Yeah.
Look at children. We politicians. Here's what we want you to understand. Don't do as we do. You do as we say. But that's don't you know that children tend to follow your actions.
That's exactly what they do.
Just your words.
They look at what you're doing more so than even than what you say. They watch what you do and they mimic behaviors.
Exactly, and that's what's happening here in America.
Yeah,
and this is what this is what's being passed on to the generation that's coming up.
Yeah,
this is how you handle your problems. Yeah. This is how you deal with your disagreements. So now when violence breaks out even more so in communities among young people, then you're part of the blame for that, because you're setting the example. Whether you're black or whether you're white, Asian, I don't care what color you are, you're setting the example, if you're part of this frenzy, to these children that this is how you settle your disputes. If someone disagrees with you, you go after them. If they're not on the same political train that you're on, you attack them. You go after them. You take them down. And you know what's even worse with this? A lot of the stuff that's being said by some of these politicians, to cite the people, they're not even factual.
Yeah.
People, fact check. Do some fact checking on some of this stuff. Some of the things that these politicians are saying aren't even factual. They're trying to blame one particular party for everything that's going on. They're saying a lot of things that aren't even true. I'm not even going to get into that part of it right now, because that's another whole kettle of fish.
And that's a very important thing. Even just to take one quick side note. Just with the internet in general, I see a lot of people online who repost articles and videos and stuff like that, and then I always, if I'm looking at something, it's just instinctual that I look at like where it was posted from, and if it's not the original source, and I'll usually try to at least do like a cursory search, just to see if I can find the source. And a lot of times, some of that stuff is misrepresented, taken out of context, or completely false. And there's a lot of stuff out there that's like that. And I'll see like many of my peers and people that I have on my social media accounts that'll be spreading it and sharing it and believing it, and then somebody will either I'll post or somebody else might post like, nah, this is fake. This is not real. It's not a real news story. It's from like a satirical website or something like. So I think that's really important for a lot of people to be aware that a lot of the stuff that you're seeing online, it's really motivated by ad revenue. A lot of companies, they don't care if they're making money. They're going to just keep posting up like fake news stories, or they're going to kind of change the story a little bit to make it a little bit more clickable. Because right now, that's all it's about, is that ad revenue online.
You want to get more clicks, the more clicks, the more money.
Make sure, please, like you said, check sources. You got to vet these articles, especially if you're going to get swept up in a whole movement and you know, making impassioned speeches or posts about it and stuff like that online. Just check it. Just verify that it's a real source before you post it up. And in that way, at least, not only is it going to, you know, do a lot to help, you know, not spread the, you know, this I hate using the term fake news, but I mean, that's what it is a lot of times. So it's going to help with the, you know, stopping the spread of that. But also, you're going to be a little bit more well versed in the subject. So that way, if somebody questions you about it, at least you'll have, you know, information to back it up with. So that's just a little pet peeve of mine. I had to speak on it because I see it all the time, and it's just like, man. Sometimes I don't even bother posting because I just like, I don't want to get into it with people. But a lot of times I'll be like, nah, that's not real. Like,
you know, it kind of reminds me of a saying that's been around for a long time, and I find it to be true in a lot of cases, that people would rather believe a lie than the truth, because the lie is more exciting than the truth.
Absolutely.
And the sad thing about it, and to sort of echo what my son just said here, as far as vetting the information that you're going to jump on and begin to spread to someone else or talk about, or if you're going to ride this train, make sure that you're riding the train based on good information. And in all honesty, we got to watch out for the news medias too, because news outlets don't always give the whole story. You know, I mean, there's bias in this country so much. And again, we're not sitting here being political. We're sitting here just being Americans, looking at the reality here, what's happening to this country that you know, that we're all are part of. It's not about,
we live here.
Exactly. It's not about Democrat, Republican, nor independent. It's about the people of this nation, and the politicians should be looking out for the people of this country, looking to keep us united as opposed to dividing us. And so you have to watch the sources. If you see it on the news media, well, what's the rest of the story? I've seen things on the news, and I went and looked it up, and what have I found out? Found out that it wasn't even all factual.
Real.
Check it out, America.
So
check it out. We're not done with this topic. We're going to finish this up some more on another show.
Definitely. But guys, listen, we want to hear from you guys. You heard what we think about this whole thing. Civil war in America, is it happening? Let us know what you think. Hit us up with the information below. And until next time,
we want to hear from you. Peace.
Peace.
See you next time on the road.